Hello, stamping and crafty friends. My name is Julie. This is Stamp with Julie Baum. Thanks for finding my channel. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I'm here today with Project 3 from Stamp Club. This is January of 2026. We made 3 cards, and you will find the other 2 videos available here on my YouTube channel. Project 1 and Project 2. This is Project 3. Now, when I first saw the Cake Day stamps and the coordinating dies, I thought they were cute, but it didn't go on my immediate I must have this list. I kind of felt like I had some cute birthday things already, and maybe I did not need this one. But I know this happens to you too. I started seeing some really cute projects made with these products, and I decided I had to have it. And now that I have been playing with it, I am obsessed. This stuff is so much fun to create with. Now, we're going to make a birthday card, super cute, but cake can go for so many occasions. Congratulations for all kinds of things: a new job, starting school, taking a break from school, retiring. Cake can go for an anniversary card, a wedding, an engagement, a baby. Let's talk about all kinds of the occasions and events that we have cake. And you could just go on. The list goes on and on. So today we're going to make a birthday cake, but do not be fooled that this can be a cake themed card for many, many occasions. All right, I've done a ton of die cutting ahead of time to save time during the video. When you came to Stamp Club and made this card, a lot of your die cuts were already prepared for you, again, to save some time because your other 2 projects took you a long time as well. We had 3 quite involved cards that we made this January. So let's talk about the dies and the die cuts, even though you're not going to actually see me go through the steps. All right. I'm going to give you a peek of the card, and then we'll talk about all the little parts and pieces. Okay. So here is the card that we made at Stamp Club. I love the colors. The soft seafoam green and the chocolate kind of gives off a mint chip or a chocolate mint idea, which I really like. And voila. So we used quite a few of the elements, not all of them. There are still more things you can do with the slice of cake, but this is the one that we made. All right, so we started with a piece of soft seafoam cardstock that measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, is scored and folded at 4.25 inches. All right, then I'm gonna, let's see, if I have all the dies right here in front of me, I'll show you them as we go. There's a lot of dies that go with this bundle. Okay, I took a piece of pecan pie cardstock, wanting to go with chocolate cake on this first card that I'm sharing with you, although I will be sharing other cards in other flavors in the upcoming days and weeks. All right, so this is the die. And here is my pecan pie cardstock. You need to start with a piece that is at least 3 inches across. And then this piece is, it ends up being 7 inches. So just go with your 3 by 8.5, and you'll end up with some scrap left over. You're going to lay the die onto your piece of pecan pie, run it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and you end up with this. Now, what is super fun about this is it is a hinged piece. This could be the card by itself, and the actual piece of cake opens. Super cute. You could also attach this folded piece to a card front, this way or this way, and have that piece open. Also very, very cute. What we did this time is we actually cut this into 2, and it will create 2 cards. So at that point, you're just going to take your scissors or your paper trimmer and cut this right down the center to become 2 pieces. So it looks like I need to do that so that I have one to show you. And you can hear that little squeak squeak in the background. That is Cabby playing with her toy. She has come into my stamp studio to see what I'm doing, and she brought in her toy with her. All right, so I'm going to take this and cut it. Now, I will tell you that once you cut it in half, I feel like you do need to clean up the edges just a little bit, okay? Because it looks a little rough. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. And there's actually a second line on here that happens from the die. So I'm trimming right on that line and then taking off that little spur on the paper. Okay, so there we've got one piece of layer cake. And then this second piece, we'll go ahead and trim it down as well and have it ready. We're not going to make 2 cards today on the video, but this will be ready to go. All right, and there is our second one. This one we can set aside. All right, so here is our card base. Here is our piece of cake. And just to kind of get your bearings, this straight edge is always going to be the top of the piece of cake. It kind of is deceiving. You're not sure which way it goes, but the part with the angle is going to be the bottom. Okay, so you'll always know the top side versus the bottom by the straight edge or the little angled edge. Okay, so we have that. Now I have a piece of white cardstock. This piece of white is 4¼ inches. No, 4 inches by 5¼ inches. There we go. 4 inches by 5¼ inches. This is going to be the inside panel, and we will be stamping and decorating that. All right, we have some more die cuts. Lots of die cuts. This die is going to cut out this piece. This is the frosting piece, and I did this out of early espresso. All right, so when you cut that piece out, you end up with this piece, which is going to go on here. Aha, suddenly it's starting to look like cake, but we're going to do some decorating on that before we attach it. Then there's a die that I used to just cut out this little banner piece. All right, so we've got that piece. We're going to do some stamping on that. There's this little flag, super cute. Here's the die. And I've cut that piece out of bubble bath cardstock. All right, then I have 2 pieces that look like this. Now, let me tell you what these are. These are the frosting edges as if they got piped onto the cake. So if you can picture a decorated cake, you're going to have piped icing here at the base probably, and very often here as it would go around the edge of the cake as well. So we have 2 of those. Those are cut out of early espresso scraps. We're going to stamp on those to give those a little bit more definition. All right, so there's that. Next, we have a couple of candles. I used bubble bath cardstock again. Now this die will cut out 3 candles at once. All right, so I had an extra that we're not going to be using on this card, but there are the twisted candles. Now, there's another die in this set, 3 of them actually, that are long, straight. They almost look like tapers. There's 3 of these dies, so you have an option for a different kind of candle. All right, then in the set of dies, you have 2 of these. And these are either little dollops, like they could be dollops of whipped cream. They could be little piped areas of frosting. They could be a meringue. I've heard people talk about these looking like meringue, which is a soft cookie made with egg white. Okay, so it could be a meringue. Whatever it is, it's super cute. And we're using 2 of those cut out of soft seafoam. So you'll see those here. All right, another fun piece. There's 2 of these dies in the set as well. Little circles. All right, they almost look like rims for a tire. This is actually going to work with another die, and there are 2 of these. Together, these are going to cut out and create a macaron. Those delightful little cookie cakes. Um, Actually, I am a baker and I have never attempted to make macarons, but I have eaten some and they can be delicious. So I'm going to show you how to put the piece of this, the piece that comes from that, and this together to make the macaron. We are doing one each of two different colors. So we have a bubble bath one, we have a soft sea foam one, and then we have the white part, which is going to be the frosting or the filling that goes inside the macaron. All right, the last two pieces that I have cut out, I did out of some gold glimmer paper. Now, I happened to look and realized that the gold glimmer paper is no longer available, but there is gold foil available. So if you want to cut these little pieces out of gold foil, that would be beautiful. Or you could cut them out of yellow or whatever you want. This is the little flicker of flame that is going to be behind each candle, like so. All right, so I have two of those. There is one die that is that shape that I'm using. There's a die with a different little flashy sparkle. And then there's a third one. This one I've not even played with yet. So there's your three dies that kind of look like the backdrop of your candle, your little flash, or they could just be starbursts or extra elements. All right. A couple things that we did not talk about. This die is part of the set and it will create a like a drip coming down from your frosting. I have not played with that one yet, but I will be. And there's also three dies that cut tiny, tiny little stars. Super cute. We're not using stars on my card today. All right. Those are the pieces that you were provided at club. And then, of course, we're going to put the card together. Let's do our stamping. All right. The first thing that I'm going to do is stamp on this chocolate frosting piece. And I want to make it look like it has chocolate sprinkles on the frosting. Super delicious sounding right now. I could really go for a slice. But let's take that sprinkle die, and it's in the same shape as this. This is hard to see against the mat, isn't it? It's the same shape, and I'm going to use early espresso ink. Let's get some things out of the way. All right. All right, I've got my early espresso. So this is going to be tone on tone, chocolate on chocolate. All right, and then I'm going to stamp this right on top of this shape to give me sprinkle covered frosting. Okay, like so. It's a cute little extra detail, I think. All right, I'm still going to be using this, but because I'm stamping on this dark cardstock, let me bring in a white piece of just scratch paper. So it sets it off a little bit more. You can see what I'm doing. There we go. Now you can see the sprinkles a little bit better. And now we're going to stamp on these piped frosting edges. All right, we need, there it is. The stamp itself is shaped just like it, and it looks like three piped little dollops. So using early espresso, once again, tone on tone, I'm just going to stamp right on it. Now, if you prefer, you could stamp these little details onto a piece of early espresso cardstock and then cut them out. But as you can see, it's very easy to stamp right on the shape. You can see what you're doing. It fits just perfectly. And so that's what we did at club. We had the die cut first and we just stamped the detail right on it. And there you have, I hope you can see the detail. Okay. We need to do some more stamping. We are going to use that little pink banner and we're going to stamp happy birthday on it, still with our early espresso ink. And I really like how the happy birthday stamp has a little bit of a wave or a bend to it, and it fits just right in the banner, the little flag. Very cute and easy to do. There's our banner. All right, we're going to do one more piece of stamping on a die cut. Let's do that next, one more step. And for this one, I chose Make a Wish. Let's see, we had Happy Birthday, we have Make a Wish. Other stamps in this set, there's a Yay, which we're going to use, Congrats, Let's Celebrate, and Happy Cake Day. So lots of good choices. All right, this one, Make a Wish, we'll put right in the middle of that white tag, like so. And then let's do this. We're going to stamp the background of this. Then we're going to come back to the cake part. It's the only part that I think is a little bit tricky. So let's keep our momentum going with all these little steps that have been easy, and we'll come back to this one in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to change out my ink pad color, and I'm going to switch to soft seafoam. And now I'm going to use a stamp from the set that just looks like dots. There's 5 little dots on here. They could definitely be a different kind of sprinkle. They could be confetti. These can be whatever you want them to be. And for our project, we want a background. So I'm just going to do a random speckled background all over my green cardstock. And again, we're using tone on tone. It's a very soft look. Looks great. Now, let me mention our cake is going to go on here. So we don't need to spend a lot of time putting extra stamped images here. So I'm going to avoid the middle and just go all around the edges. All right. No need to put images there if we're just going to cover them up. And this right side is actually, the right and the left are the narrowest pieces that are still going to show once we get the cake on. So you don't need a lot on those two sides, on the right or the left. You need some at the bottom and mostly up here in the top third of the card base. Okay, like so. Let's see, let's go ahead. I'm going to tuck my scrap paper under here. I'm going to go off the edge here and add just a little bit. I'm going to do that one more time here and here. I just want it a little bit closer to the edge than I did without the scratch paper. There we go. All right, that part's done. Let's go ahead and jump into the only part that I feel like is a little bit tricky. Now, the stamps that we're going to use to create the layers on the cake are this one, which is 2 lines, just plain lines with a space between, and then this one, which I call the frosting or the filling. And it's a little bit tricky. I'm going to show you what happens when you first start playing with these. You're not really sure how this goes. Like, where does one go and where does the other go and how does it look? I think it's confusing. I also watched some other creators stamping with these stamps, and honestly, everybody's a little confused at first until you kind of get the hang of it and how to make it look correct. So this is what I taught my group at Stamp Club. And if it is helpful to you, then that is great. I'm going to encourage you to follow my method. Otherwise, I encourage you to do whatever you like and see what works for you. So I showed this sample at Club in order to get the ladies started. And what we did is we started with the filling stamp, okay? Not the 2 solid lines. We started with the frosting or the filling. I'm going to call it frosting because I like frosting in my cake. We started with the frosting first and then added the layer cake lines. So that's what we're going to do on my piece here. We're going to stamp 3 times. This first one is pretty much near the center of our slice. And then we've got one that is up higher. And we have one that's down lower, maybe down like so. Easy, right? Okay, so that is not hard at all. Like I said, this is the method that makes sense in my mind. Then what we're going to do is we're actually going to add, see, the stamped lines do not sandwich the item, that the image that we just stamped. They actually are opposite. So what I'm going to do to show you is I'm going to start in the middle. We're not going to straddle that. We're going to put it here in between, like so. Then we're going to do it again. And I think I'm going to end up going off my paper. So I'm just going to stick this here and put the second one up here. And then we have one more. Let's see, that one's between there. We're going to put one, 2, 3. Yep, we're going to put one here. So between the filling. And our last one goes underneath the filling, like so. So what we have is cake, filling, cake, filling, cake, filling, and cake. Exactly like you would have if you baked it. All right. To me, that makes the most sense instead of starting with this stamp first. I would love to hear your comments and what works for you. Okay. Let's take our frosting piece and attach it to the cake. This is going to help give it some perspective. Helps your eyes a lot better to know where we're headed from here. So this rounded edge fits just right. The bottom edge fits just right. And make sure that your top edge is completely flush with the top of your pecan pie piece. I'm even going to turn it this way and tap it. And there we have our frosting on top of our cake piece, our little cake slice. All right. Okay, let's continue. The next thing that we're going to do is attach the cake to the card. So let's bring our stamped background in. We're going to add this, and for our card, we were pretty close to the bottom edge of the card. I would say we're maybe about a ½ inch. Let's find out. Just about a ½ inch. Okay, you want your cake, the bottom corner here of your cake slice to be about a ½ inch above the bottom edge of your card front. Got it. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add those little piped frosting areas. Now, again, this might be up to you. I feel like they go in this direction because honestly, if I was piping the frosting on this cake, and I do make cakes with piped frosting, my hand would be going like this as I'm making the scallop. So that's what it looks like to me, is scallop, scallop, scallop. There we have that. All right, and then this next step would be up to you. Okay, we're going to put the other little piped frosting area on. I think all three of them looks just fine. It's very cute. But I did feel like if this is where the piece of cake, see, I overthought it. If this is where the piece of cake got cut, this frosting would not be hanging in the air like that. So what I did on mine is I cut one of the scallops off. I just used a little rounded motion on my frosting and I cut one scallop off, and then I added this to my cake. If you think that that looks good, then you do it that way. Otherwise, just put all three on and I'm sure it's going to be lovely. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is figure out the placement of our candles and our banner. And I didn't mention, but I'll mention now, if you are careful to not put glue too close on the edge of this, you will be able to slide your candles in. I don't know that I was careful enough while filming to do that. Okay, so I am going to be able to slide them in, but just barely. So learn from my almost mistake. I may have to trim my candles down since I didn't leave the room. So option A is to just don't put glue on the back side of this at the very tippy top so that you're able to tuck these down inside. But if you did glue it down, you're going to want to trim your candles down a little bit. So I'm sure this happened to somebody at club as well. And we're just going to make our candles a little bit shorter and go ahead and add them. We might have to do the same thing with our flag. Okay, that is fine. There's almost never a mistake that you can't fix or just run with. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this one here. Now you notice that I am not gluing down right behind the top of the candle because I do want to be able to tuck this in. If you're more comfortable gluing the gold piece on first, you can, or you can do like I did and just don't glue the top of the candle quite yet. Okay, there's one. Here's our second one. And also don't be too worried about it because we are going to cover the base of the candle with one of these little dollops. All right, so I've got my two candles. Let's go ahead and put in the little gold sparkle from the flame. Like so, right behind the wick of the candle. That's where the flame would be. So I've got that one down and this one. Oh my goodness, so cute. Okay, where's my tool? Here we go. I'm just going to glue that down like that so I don't stick my finger on the card where it's sticky. Okay, there's our candles. Okay, let's determine our happy birthday flag, our pick or our banner. And I'm going to do the same thing because I can't tuck it down. Okay, while I was filming, I didn't think about that this time. So I'm just going to trim this off a little bit and it is going to go right there. In this instance, I'm just going to put the majority of the glue on this big area. That makes sense. And maybe a teeny little dot or two on the pick, and that's going to hold it just fine. All right, those dollops are going to come in handy because as I just mentioned a second ago, they could cover up this area if you're not too crazy how it ended up being. You can see mine is floating in the air a little bit. It won't matter because we're going to cover it up. So let's flip these both over. And I think that I'll use a mini dimensional, but you could use a full-size one if that's what you have handy. And one will be enough on the back of each one. All right, and then I'm going to put this one right there. And this one right there. And now you got to hear from Pino. She just heard something outside and is being the good little guard dog that she is, all 5 pounds of her. All right, we are nearly done building our card. All of those sweet little touches are so cute and so delicious. All right, next, let me show you what to do to build the macaron. So we've got one of each, one pink, one green. And I have 2 of the white pieces. This is the filling. Now this is actually really easy to do, and you're going to be amazed at how cute it looks. This rounded edge of this tiny little piece, this is tiny, it's hard to work with. Some of you are going to want to use your cross lock tweezers to hold on to these. What we're going to do is we're just going to slide it into the natural cut. Okay, when you die cut this, there's a slit in there. This is going to get tucked right up inside there and create the macaron. Somebody was so clever when they figured out how to do that. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue, just a dab, on this top part on the back. And then I'm going to repeat what I just showed you. I'm going to take the rounded edge, tuck it in, slide it in about as far as it'll go. That way the sides don't look funny. And then I'm going to press it into place. Now, if you feel like it needs even more adhesive, I will let you determine what you think it needs. For me, that's plenty to hold it together because now it's going to get more adhesive when I attach it to my card. So there's number one. Same process for the green one, just a little bit of liquid glue on the back side of the top of the cookie. Okay, can you see that? Slide the rounded edge up inside the little slit. There we go. Push it in as far as it'll go. That makes the right and the left sides of the filling look correct. And press it into my glue. And now we have our pink and our green macaron. Oop. All right, we're going to add these to the card front. And I chose to put mine on just flat. I did not use dimensionals. If you would rather use dimensionals, that would be lovely, and you can do that next. You could also use glue dots on the back of this. That would be really fast. I think I'll do that on the second one so I can see what I like best. Pink one is in place with my liquid glue, and then let's use glue dots on the second one. And I'm going to pick it right up off the roll. 1 and 2. I think I like the glue dot method. And then this one's going to go just at a little angle, a little bit this way from the first one. Ta-da! All right, let's add our Make a Wish. And for this one, I do think it needs to be popped up. So once again, my mini dimensionals are handy, so I'm just going to use 3 of those. Full size would easily fit on here, and you might even get away with just 2 if you're using the full size. All right, now my fingers are a teeny bit sticky from all the gluing. Those little backings were sticking to me. And then this is just going to go at an angle like so. I'm going to tell you that this weekend I will be baking a chocolate cake with chocolate frosting. We have a birthday in our family, and that was the requested dessert. And this is really getting me in the mood. All right, let's take our white piece and decorate the inside of the card. I'm going to keep it easy and fast, even though you could do a lot of different things on the inside, maybe even incorporating some of the elements that we did not use yet. One cute thing would be is to attach that third candle. Remember how the die cuts 3 and we only used 2? It'd be very cute to use the candle on the inside. I don't know where my third one is right now, so I won't be doing that, but I have a feeling that some of you will. Let's just do some of those little dots. I'm going to make a random pattern up here in the corner, kind of mimicking some confetti. And then a couple down here. But I also want to use the Yay stamp. So let's come back to that one with early espresso. And this is where I think that candle would be super cute if you wanted to glue that to the inside of the card. All right, back to our liquid glue to attach the inside panel. And our mint mint chocolate chip birthday card has come together and is absolutely delicious. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. Also, be watching for future videos where I cannot wait to make a slice of lemon cake. How about a funfetti, like a sometimes they call it birthday cake flavor, but a funfetti cake is going to be really fun to make. Let me mention one of the stamps that I did not use would make that funfetti layer. Let me find the stamp. Would make this really easy to do. So these are sprinkles, but in a straight line instead of this one, which was shaped like the frosting. So this would be cute, especially if you wanted the plain cake layers to look like they had sprinkles. That's going to be an option too. So I plan to do quite a bit with this, and I will bring some of those cards and projects to you here on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will put some information for you below this video. Make sure that you look for the description box. Sometimes you have to click the words more or see more so that it will open and you can find all of the handy information that I've placed there for you. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.